Bayern were simply better. Bayern were simply better. Hands down better. There's no two ways about it. Bayern, especially in that first half, completely ran us off the park. And there's no two ways about it. And first and foremost, before I get on to, talking about PSG and whatnot, congratulations to Bayern. Bayern are the best team in the world. Bayern completely outplayed PSG, even when it was 11v11. And even whilst they were man down, they still looked very much in control and were able to weather the storm. So congratulations to Bayern. They play very good football. They pressed very well. They were simply today the better team on the pitch, hands down, and by a good distance, So yeah, kudos to Bayern. Bayern are top of the league. And that's 16 wins out of 16, the record in the European top 5 league. So kudos to Bayern. To get on to PSG, I mean, today we were bad. Today we were not good. Today we were not good. I want to say we're trash because we had moments and whatnot, and we are facing Bayern. Like, losing to Bayern is not something to be ashamed about by any means. But you look second best today. You did not look today. You didn't look like you were up for it. You looked like PSG looked rattled in the first half. PSG couldn't string passes together. PSG couldn't get out of their press. And just Bayern had it over you. And I think the most annoying thing today that I'll go and take away is the fact that Bayern were definitely better than PSG. But the thing is, it's like, at least if the two goals that we conceded were, if you want to go and say mistakes on our end. The first one, you could argue a bit less so, but the second one is a mistake of our own doing, and then they concede. Bayern could have scored way more goals outside of that. The gnabry one, there's there's another Luis Diaz one. I mean, Bayern had plenty of opportunities to go and score, don't get me wrong. However, the annoying thing is, of all those things, the chance that you conceded, right, the two chances, or secondly the second one, the one that cost you the game, is the one that was purely a making of your own creation. And that's the annoying bit. But here we go. Bayern 1, PSG 2. PSG get the best of Bayern. Bayern got a red card in the right on the set of halftime in the 48th minute. And as I said previously, Bayern were simply better. Especially, I want to go and harp on, especially in that first half. The thing is, because even you can go and looking at stats, and just I want to have a look at them in the first half alone. Bayern had less possession than PSG. But the thing is, though, is that for the marginally more possession that PSG had, Bayern was in control still. The possession that PSG had, typically when PSG has the possession, they're very much in the the offensive zone, so on and so forth. I think the best way to contrast this is look at the possession PSG had in the first half and compare that to the second half. In the second half, obviously Bayern were a man down. PSG was on the front foot. PSG had the ball in Bayern's half for most of the second half. However, in the first half, even though PSG had more possession in air quotes, all that possession was in our own half, or at best, in the first third of their Bayern's half and in the midfield of the field of play. And Bayern did a very, very good job of pressing PSG. I think they pressed more so the areas and the runs rather than like man marking and whatnot. And it made it very, very difficult for PSG to play out. And conversely, Bayern didn't really allow PSG to go and press, because I felt like, maybe it's just, on my first viewing, I felt Bayern played very vertical, a lot more than normal, which meant that PSG couldn't get that pressing, because PSG, you could argue, especially in the midfield, is not, the biggest, most physical team. They would be second to the balls, the first balls and the second balls as well. And Bayern was able to exploit that to their advantage. But yeah, especially in that first half, Bayern were by far better than PSG. As I said, they had less possession, higher XG 1.29, 7 shots, 4 shots on target, 4 big chances created. Yeah, Bayern were clinical today. They took their chances very well. The first goal comes off of the Luis Diaz in the 4th minute, comes off of bad touch, or Nuno trying to play a pass into the midfield. It gets intercepted by them. One pass, Gnabry flicks it on to 𝙀𝙊𝘾𝘼𝙎. 𝙀𝙊𝘾𝘼𝘎's through on goal. It's initially good save by 𝙎𝙊𝘾𝘼𝑍. And then Luis Diaz gets to the second ball first, shoots it. Marquinhos isn't able to die for it, and bang, just like that, 1-0. And I think that's the most annoying thing, is to be down 1-0 within the first 5 minutes, is that. And then even still with that, Bayern had all the momentum. In fact, let's have a look at the actual momentum here. It doesn't seem as bad now, but if you go and you look here, the first 10, 11 minutes of the game, it was all Bayern, completely all Bayern. Obviously, PSG had moments and moments of wave and whatnot, but for the most part, in fact, I'd go and say that this wave of momentum here, it seems like the peaks are much higher for PSG, but I would say overall that it was definitely Bayern that looked the more likely team to go and score. They looked the better team overall. So I'd say that this is slightly, deceiving. Bayern were definitely miles better than PSG, especially in that first half. There's the Gnabry one where he hits both posts. There's a chance that 𝙎𝙊𝘿𝘾𝘼𝙎𝙐 gets where it ricochets off. What's another chance? I just feel like Bayern created so many chances, and they could have had this game at halftime. It could have very easily been 3-0 at halftime, and PSG would be saying that, yeah, that's completely fair. I think 2-0 honestly is a flattering scoreline for PSG. PSG were able to get one sort of pseudo back with 𝙀𝙊𝘾𝘼𝙎𝙏 Dembele. He scored an offside goal, but I mean, I saw it initially, especially as soon as it went in, it looked offside. I called it offside. It was called offside, and unfortunately, that wasn't the worst thing. Is that Dembele, sort of coming back from an injury, hasn't been looking at his best, but you could see only played 25 minutes after that goal, had to be substituted off for 𝙀𝙀𝘾𝘼𝙎. Didn't do anything, had 6 passes out of 6, created no big chances, had 6 touches in total. Like, he just didn't do much, and you could see that he's not at 100%. He's not at his best. But like that's no excuse. You saw Barcola, you saw Kvara, and even especially in that first half, I thought Barcola was probably the best of our attackers in that first half. But even despite all of that, I don't think PSG created enough going offensively. In the second half, obviously, we were much better given that there was more time and space for us. We were man up. But in that first half, we definitely looked second best to everything, especially in our attack. And then what else? I just overthought, like, it's not like Bayern were better than PSG by all sorts of the imagination. And PSG definitely suffered, but I don't feel like I thought initially when I was, especially in that first half, I thought that it was a Chelsea thing where PSG was just clearly like the second worst team. Bayern were definitely good, but I think Bayern were clinical. Bayern knew where to hit PSG hard, and PSG was still able to get things off, but Bayern just made it really difficult for them to execute them to the normal level that they would. And then afterwards, they score their second goal in the 32nd minute, and for that one, listen. I think we need to start putting up investigating PSG's defense this season, because it's not been good. Bar Pacho and obviously Hakimi and Nuno, upwards, but our center backs this year, Bar Pacho, so either it's Zabarni, whether it's Beraldo, whether it's Marquinhos, they've not been up to it. Every single one of those three has made a pretty glaring mistake that has led to either a goal or to a loss or something. You've had Marquinhos in 𝙀𝙀𝘾𝘼𝙎𝙏. You've had Zabarni obviously last time round. You've had Beraldo give up in the Strasbourg game. Pacho's been our only reliable center back this year, and that's really concerning. And the mistake that Marquinhos makes on that, I'm sorry. Marquinhos afterwards trying to go and say, somebody talk to me. The thing is, Marquinhos he obviously contested the header with Harry Kane, got the ball back, checked his shoulder, and then lost it subsequently to Luis Diaz after checking his shoulder 2 seconds prior. Marquis, concentre-toi, applique-toi, Marquis. Like, there's no excuse there. Like, we can't be gifting Bayern chances like that. And obviously Luis Diaz punishes us, and just like that, you're 2-0 down. And the thing is, though, is that, again, obviously, if buts and then, if my mom had, wheels, she'd be a Ferrari. Had we not conceded that goal, we tie it up. Who knows? It's a completely different game. But ultimately, we paid the price for the mistakes that we made. Bayern punished us, rightfully so. They should have been probably more than 2 up, and just like that, you're down 2-0. So yeah, it's stupid mistakes like that. Marquis, I think here on FOMOB is our worst player, along with 𝙀𝙀𝘾𝘼𝙎𝙏 Dembele, but he only played 25 minutes. But Marquis had an error leading to a goal. After that, I mean, we didn't have too many other things defensively. I mean, Bayern had a couple chances of their own in the second half in breaks, but it's concerning that I think we're giving the opposition teams too many opportunities, and I think it's something that we need to rectify quickly, because we can't be letting up so many opportunities over the course of the game. I thought 𝙬𝙬𝘼𝑎𝑙𝑖, people were trying to go in 𝙬𝙬𝑼𝑎𝑙𝑖. I thought 𝙬𝙬𝑼 was fine. I mean, on the initial goal that we conceded, he makes a good save on a one-on-one with 𝙀𝙀𝙖𝙀𝑗𝙀, and then the shot afterwards, there's not much you can expect him to go and do. The second one, again, he's bailed out. His captain gives up the ball right in front of him. Luis Diaz goes in one-on-one, puts it in. As in, there's not much you can expect for him to go and do. I thought 𝙬𝙬𝑼𝑎𝑙𝑖 was fine today. There's wasn't bad, wasn't good or anything. It was 6 is a fair performance. But yeah, then obviously the big turning point of the game was the red card in the 48th minute from Luis Diaz. And I'll go and say this. I think overall, the red card is probably a bit harsh. And because especially on first viewing, I thought there's a foul. I think there's no question that there's a foul and it's a card. But a red card, honestly, the more and more I saw it, the more and more I can see how it's given. But I think that's one of the things where it's like, it's a yellow plus, it's like an orange card. It's not quite a red, but it's definitely more than a yellow. However, I guess you could argue that one, it's a dangerous challenge, it's a reckless challenge. Yes, he's not intending to, injure the player, but whenever is a challenge like that that's deserving of a red, there's an intent to injure the player. The thing is, though, he leaves his feet. Both of his feet are off the ground. He does not get any of the ball, and he scissor kicks, but he scissors Hakimi's left leg under him, and he has to go off, and he's injured. Harry Kane afterwards in the tunnel at halftime was going and saying, oh, if Hakimi walks that off, you're not sending him off. Well, yeah, if my mom had wheels, she'd be a Ferrari. But like in that case, Hakimi had to get substituted, and now pending, medical exams and whatnot, Hakimi's injured. So yeah, I think it's a pretty serious injury. So I think the red card, you could debate it. I think it's a fair one. I could see how it's given, but I can also see how you argue against it. But without a shadow of a doubt, it was the turning point of the game. It came at a moment where I think PSG was probably getting into it and probably would have wanted to, be able to continue, but they went to the second half with the red card, 2-0 down. The issue is, well, it's like, I said it at half, I'm like, sure, okay, you get a red card from your perspective, but you also then are now down Hakimi, and then you also lost Dembele, some of your two best attacking threats and some of your two best players. But in fairness, Kang came on. I thought Kang looked absolutely excellent in the second half. Was probably definitely PSG's best player in the second half. In fact, if I look over here, along with Luis Diaz in the first half, he's the outfield player with the highest rating. On Fatman here was Manuel Neuer with the highest rating, but I thought Kang looked excellent today, got an assist, got the most chances created. I thought he was very lively. He was a bit so-so in the first couple of moments where he came on, but in the second afterwards, I thought he was excellent. But yeah, in the second half, we looked a lot better, a lot sharper. But even then, I don't feel we created enough to go and win. Obviously, you dominated possession, 86% possession, 1.54 XG, 19 shots, 8 shots on target. But still, we only created 2 big chances. And a lot of that is, frankly, Bayern defended the second half very, very, very well. And just PSG sort of lacked a bit of creativity. I think it's a reoccurring theme with PSG, and where, especially when teams hunker down in Ligue 1, as we've struggled to go and to break them down. For a myriad of reasons. Is that because, we're missing in Dembele, 𝙀𝙖𝙖, players who can go in tight spaces, take on 1, 2, 3 players at a time, create something, create an overload, put a pass in, find a clever ball, shoot the ball, take initiative. We didn't really have that. I guess Kvara sort of was somewhat that outlet today, but he didn't do nearly as much. Kang was probably the best, architect for that, and it showed dividends in the second half. But I just feel overall we didn't create enough chances, and it's shown by the fact that even overall, despite PSG being a man up for the entirety of the second half, PSG still overall over the course of the entire game created less big chances than Bayern Munich. And so yeah, and even in that, PSG still had a slower XG. So Bayern's XG in the first half was 1.29, whereas in the second half, PSG next year 1.54, which marginally more, but yeah, I don't know. I think overall PSG just didn't do enough to go and win. I thought Bayern were were clearly better. Defensively, they were significantly better. They shut down PSG. They didn't give us a lot of opportunities. The chances that we did get, we were a lot of times relegated to, trying pot shots from, 20, 30 yards out, spamming crosses, finding nobody. Bayern's a taller team than us, so we found it difficult to find chances. In fairness, João Neves was able to go and to reduce the deficit in the 74th minute. At that point, you go and you think maybe you've got, 15, 20 minutes to go. Can you you're going to get a couple more chances? Can you, with one of those, go and put it in? In fairness, we did have one. We had that one Kang chance, which was just whiskered around the post. But overall, I think if we gone to draw, I would have gone and said that it was a smash and grab in the sense that for us. So I think based on the balance of the game, I think a loss for PSG here today, I think is purely fair. I think Bayern were definitely deserving of the win. And yeah, I think that's about it. There's not much more to go and say. I know there's going to be PSG fans are going to go and say, Dembele, Hakimi came off. Okay, yeah, but even whilst they were both on the pitch, and Hakimi was there for, basically the entirety of the first half, and Dembele was there for the first half of the first half, even with that, we still got completely ran amok by Bayern. So I don't think that 𝙀𝙖 coming in, maybe you could say, I don't think there's that. Bayern beat PSG fair and square. They were the better team, and Bayern had injuries too. They had 𝙀𝙖𝙖 gone and Davies, who's been gone for months at this point. So there's no excuse on our point. Bayern was simply better than PSG, and kudos to Bayern. Bayern are the best team in the world. And with that, it means that PSG, as we speak currently, are currently third in the Champions League group with 3 3 wins and 1 loss, still a 9+9 goal difference. So the loss in the grand scheme of the Champions League phase isn't all that detrimental, in that even if, PSG go and, looking at the other teams, if Inter go and win, then they would go ahead of PSG. And I mean, it would take if City or Dortmund, if either of them win, they'd go ahead of PSG. But apart from that, the other teams that possibly play, Newcastle, you've got Barca. If they win, they'd be level on points, same as Chelsea, but they need to score, start stat padding. So I think most likely, all things considered, PSG's most likely going to be at the very least in the top 5 and potentially still in the top 4 by the end of this match day, which is perfectly okay. I think if there's any game that I would looked at coming into the league phase, that was probably going to be our trickiest game. I thought it was going to be this game against Bayern, and it showed dividends today. I think Bayern currently are better than PSG, and PSG still has a lot of work to do. And luckily the Champions League is not one in November; it's one in May, so we've got time to rectify that and move on. Thank you guys for listening and paying attention to this video. It's been a pleasure as always. And thank you to everybody that was on in the watch along. It's always a pleasure having everybody on, and I hope to catch you guys in a next one. And with that, thank you guys very much. It's been a pleasure as always. And remember, stay safe, stay kind, and stay blessed. Godspeed.